Good morning, everybody. How are you? Hey, Eileen from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So good to see you. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's Friday. It's Podcast Friday. What can I say? Here we are. We are at Bridging Realms with Melody Pash, and this is Darla and Jill, my team members. And we are going to talk about a very interesting dream or two this morning. We're going to have some fun like we always do. If you have questions, we will try to get to those. If we don't, just bear with us. And if you have a question and it doesn't show up during the live, then you can go to my YouTube channel, Melody Pash, just Melody Pash on YouTube. And you can type it in there, and eventually somebody will see it and get back to you. We try. We really try. We just have a lot to cover in a short time sometimes. So we have this cool dream called Open Jail Sale, and it is a very interesting corporate word. And so I'm going to go ahead and share the dream, and then we'll go back and talk about the notes. Excuse me, and go from there. Okay, so the dreamer is walking on the road with a friend named Marcus Martin. And Marcus is morbidly obese. He's very, very large in the dream. And Marcus means God of Wars, dedicated to Mars. So the dreamer is leaning on him as she's walking, and the road was consumed with white foamy substance with a current, and they were being overtaken by the current being carried down the road. She lost Marcus, and she realized that this foam was man-made. She was washed to a big jail where people were being herded in. Marissa, who is irrelevant who Marissa is in the dream, but Marissa was there, but she didn't see her. She was trying to find her. The guard directed her to a cell with two guys in it seated on stools, and one was there for her. Now, Marissa means of the sea. It means bitterness, hopelessness, wished for child, but it also means beloved. So we're going to talk about all of that. So the door of the cell that she is ushered into is actually open. The guard is standing there, but the door is open. She sees to her left another group of people being herded into their cells. She only had her cell phone with her. One of the guys asked if he could watch videos on his cell phone from 8 to 12. She was surprised that they allowed them to keep their phones. She asked the guard if they would be able to charge their phones when they needed it, and he said yes. This was very surprising to the dreamer. So I'm going to go back to the first part. So they're walking on the road she's walking on the road with Marcus, who's very large, and she is leaning on him. Remember, means God of Wars. The road's consumed with white foamy substance with a current. So there's a lot of it because it's overtaking them, and the current is carrying them down the road. She loses her friend that she was leaning on, and she realizes that the foam is man-made. Jill, did you have some notes on that?
Yeah, the sea is a metaphor for humanity. It's vast and it's alive. And the ocean currents determine the movement of the humanity and what comes out of the churning, the chaos, and the agitation and upheaval. So depending on what is going on, that is how the movement of this foam is going, because it's part of that. And it can be a cleansing process that happens naturally or forced, creating upheaval and unpleasant side effects. And in this particular case, it looks like since it was man-made, that it is something that is put into effect by a government or a process, a group that has control over certain aspects. Maybe climate change, could be a lot of things. So, and then it could trickle down into economics. There's a lot of possibilities there. So, and the dream, it appears to be breaking down of systems that are dead or dying or need replacing. That would be the positive aspect of this. Things that need replacing. So, and lots of times the stench of the residue, breaking down the contaminants, that would be a natural process. But since this is something that's man-made, it could be a little bit painful. I don't know if anybody wants to comment.
Yeah, I kind of went another direction, which I'm going to also share. But yeah, that's really good. That road is a very definite path, and what I have, sort of correlates with what you're saying, Jill. I'm just saying it sort of in a different way, but it's a very definite path that the dreamer is going down, but she's connected to a form of codependence. She's actually leaning on someone to walk. So I'm seeing a codependence there as well. And the leaning on something unhealthy, because this person in the dream was, the dreamer actually said like 400 pounds. So there's probably a strong man involved there, and the 4 is something like a principality which rules over something in our soul as well, and she was leaning on that. Now, the other thing that I was getting too from the foam, being man-made, and I'm with you. I'm going to the very corporate side of this, where it's connected even to the political side or the governmental side, but it's like it's the effects of those in society who are literally foaming at the mouth out of fury or rage. And that is the narrative. That is a lot of the rhetoric right now, even from the mainstream media. So that's kind of, that ties into what you were saying as well, man-made. And I saw it as words. Excuse me. It might also be connected to that a picture of, an outburst of fury, like we're seeing people sort of losing it over things with, they don't like the president or whatever. And so there's this man-made toxicity that's just flowing out of people. And it's because some of them don't even understand what's going on. So I saw that foam as foaming at the mouth are like words. Now, the upside of the losing, because she loses Marcus at some point, the upside of that is she loses that codependence. So she has no longer a crutch to lean upon. So yeah, I'm with you. That I like the way that all lays out so corporately, and so much it lays out accurately for the government, for the nation, for the church, It's like it all sort of ties in there. So I'm going to read this next part, and I'll let you give some more thoughts, Jill or Darla. She was washed to a big jail where people were being herded in. Marissa was there, but she didn't see her. He was trying to find her. The guard directed her to a cell with two guys in it seated on stools, and there was one for her. You want to go ahead, Jill?
Well, looking for Marissa is also of the sea, so it's likely she's trying to find her way. She's trying to see. So being swept into the jails could be good or bad depending on your perspective, because usually going to jail is a recalibrating or changing your perspective, it's redirecting your life. So that in itself could be good, because she was separated from a lot of the others, but specifically she was put into a cell with two others, and they all play a part in what is going on. I don't know if you read that part or not, but there was two stools and two people.
I did read that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There were two stools, and one of them was for her. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it too, because there's a positive and negative of everything. And yes, where you're getting correction, or you're getting recalibrated to the right direction, the right place. That's always going to be a positive, and that comes with discipline, right? It comes with discipline. Right. Darla, did you have anything you wanted to share there too before I went on?
I am so impressed. You know how sometimes we see the world at a distance, but now you have a dream, or somebody has a dream, we all dream, and the reality of the foam, I'm thinking, what the heck, foam, and then here it's a big deal, and foaming at the mouth, and then it brings it right close to home. It's like the dream all of a sudden has power to it. So I love listening to this.
That's good. Hello, Lynn from North Georgia. We love you. Okay, so I was going along with all of that. So Marissa might also represent we can look at it as an agreement that was made, and maybe unaware, right, of how it affects us overall, because Marissa is yes of the sea. And I love the part, Jill, where you were talking about it helps us see. So you're able to see. So there was a play on words there. And then you've got the sea as in marine spirits. And if there is something generational there that she had made an agreement with, a mindset, then that would also explain some things here as well. And you kind of just, Jill went straight to the redemptive side of it, which I love, because that's where we're going to get on all of it. That's where we have to get in all of the dreams. So I saw the sort of being overtaken by the nasty behavior and that toxic frequency causing loss of control. They were overtaken. And Marissa being also bitterness, hopelessness. That's where a lot of the masses are right now, and a lot of the people in the church. And if we're not careful, we can be washed down, that highly destructive path where we choose the road of least resistance and find ourselves in bondage to spiritual structures that are difficult to escape from. And we tell ourselves, well, there were two stools, two guys in the jail cell, and there were three stools. So one stool for her and one for them. And, we tell ourselves, well, it isn't comfortable or perfect, but it could be worse. It's kind of like we kind of come into the agreement with this thing and we tell ourselves, well, it could be worse. It's not so bad. And the door is still open, but the guard is standing there. I think I'm going to give my notes first, Jill, and then let you, because
Okay.
you definitely got the redemptive side. I love that. So often what'll happen is the enemy, he works the enemy works in that he will allow us to make agreements that imprison us, but without need of force. It's kind of like, sometimes our soul is what's leading that. Sometimes the enemy can just kind of hide and watch, that he doesn't even have to be in the middle of it because we're doing it all on our own. We're messing things up all on our own without any sort of coercion or any sort of force. And it's like we agree to stay there, even though the door is wide open and we could technically leave, but the guard is standing there, and that is enough to deter us through intimidation. So that is a form of intimidation, just him standing there. But the reality is the dreamer could have literally just walked out. Go ahead, Jill.
Okay, well, the stool is a place of authority, and it only allows one person to sit there. And so she is taking her place on one of those stools. And like you said, it's not a comfortable place to be. But the redemptive part of it is business needs to be done and taken care of. And so you're not gonna mess around. You're gonna get it done because there's nothing to lean on. There's no back to the chair. You're not going to sit there and be comfortable. So you might as well get about business and get things done. And with the one guy, he wanted to watch video from 8 to 12. Well, the number 8 is like a new beginning, and 12 is that authority where they're seated. And you add those together, 8 and 12, you have 20, which is expectancy. So there's an expectancy to that seat of authority that has to be implemented. So anyway, it's also a support system put in place by Creator to bolster the dreamer's confidence that they can make a difference, that even though things don't look too good, you're in jail, but you're not confined there, so it's a correction, it's a turning about, a recalibration that needs to happen with the nation too. We think that we're beaten. A lot of us think that we're beaten and there's nothing we can do to make a difference, but there is. And like I said, the door's open. There's nothing keeping you in there, So she's not restricted of movement, and her communication is available. She's allowed to recharge anytime. So
yeah, hold on, Jill. Hold on, Jill. I'm going to stop you there because you're getting ahead of me.
Okay.
You got ahead of me. Hang on. All right. So she sees to her left another group of people being herded into their cells, other cells. She only had, hold on. She only had her, where am I? I lost it. Let's see. Where did I go? Her phone. One of the guys asked if he could watch the videos. Yeah, from 8 to 12. Yeah, and she was surprised that they had allowed her to keep their phones. And she asked the guard if they would be able to charge. Yeah. Okay. All right. So go ahead, Jill, with what you were saying. So they have reference to that.
Okay. So The number 8 is a new beginning. So that is a very positive thing, because now you can proceed forward. And 12 is that seat of authority, which she has taken, the dreamer has taken that authority. And so if you add 8 and 12 together, that's 20, which is expectancy. So there's an expectancy for things to turn out different, because she's not stuck in that cell. That door is open, and she can come and go as she pleases. But right now she's on that seat of authority, so she needs to do something with that authority. And the guard watching could be something very positive. It could be intervention there. I would say spiritual intervention. And so she's not restricted, and she has her phone. She has the communication, so she can communicate with spirit and get the download, get recharged with everything that she needs to make that the difference in her authority. That would be spiritual authority. It also could be for the nation, steps put in place to make a change. So anyway, with Marissa being of the sea, to be able to see is pretty important. So there needs to be a shift in how people perceive things. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
I probably should have held off on yours, because I did not. You had all the redemptive side. The part that I was getting was watching educational or spiritual media is sometimes a way. It's like it shows us the way out of our bondage. It's like we're learning something, but it can also be, and we need that data. However, it can also be a cop out, like a way to excuse ourselves from the responsibility of what you were talking about, which is to allow that recalibration and that correction, so that we can be the fullness of freedom, that walk in that freedom that God has given us, and step into something new and fresh experiences, again, relating to the number 8. And that if we're diligent, we could secure our spiritual authority through governing by the Spirit, which would be 12. And yes, that expectation, that would change our expectation, which would change the negative parts of Marissa, that bitterness and that hopelessness, because you would be looking for what that God has for us, which is goodness, because he calls us beloved. So you're absolutely right, Jill. And then the redemption, just in her being the beloved and stepping into the truest identity, her truest identity would break the bondage and remove the helplessness that we suffer, and we are made free, perfect in the strength and the authority of Christ. And but we have to understand our fullest authority, to our fullest identity, to walk in that authority and to step out of that cell, because she didn't even think to leave. And that recharging, yes, you're right. It's like she had the opportunity for communication, which is her prayer life. And then the recharging is being refilled with the Holy Spirit. So she wasn't seeing that. The dreamer wasn't seeing that, but that is what the Lord has offered to all of us. So we sometimes get ourselves in a place where we feel captive, but are in bondage. But we actually constructed sometimes that prison. And sometimes that's emotionally through trauma or other situations, and the Lord is calling us out of there. And the guard, the guardian or the sentry at the door, is basically, he has no authority because he was basically standing there. He wasn't enforcing anything. So we can easily leave those prisons, especially the ones of our emotions and our minds, where the Lord is just reminding us of who he has made us and of what we can walk in, and that our expectation should be of the goodness of God showing up for us and setting us free. That's really, really good. And yeah, the stool being the seat of authority and all of that. The Lord is so specific sometimes in our dreams, and he takes us so many different directions at times, and each one of those messages just as important as the other. Darla, did you want to add something?
Well, the whole currency thing, the currents, that we can get caught up in if we're deciding, to do that. And, God in his goodness would separate us from those current dependencies. And it seems like whenever you begin to get excited and get ready to make that change that your dream has just told you about, it's like your soul or your enemy, like what you were just talking about, jumps right in and says, yeah, when? Yeah, how? Yeah, whatever. And what are you left with? You're in jail on a stool. It doesn't look promising, but it's current. It's where the current time takes us. And as you said, we deal with the Marissas, the doubts, the codependence, all those issues that just do nothing but stop us up. But yet currently we can choose to go ahead and stay there or take that seat, and currently right now those changes will begin because we're the choice. We walk through the door, or or we sit there feeling like we're in prison. So that I just love that current. There's so many ways that current, our currency is our faith, is our cell phone, is our prayer, is our rechargeability, the things that are just waiting to be poured down on us. So I like the idea that the current is really our choice if we're willing to take that seat and stay with it. So what a great dream. My goodness.
I know. That's really good. And as Jill was saying, that play on words with the seeing, if you can't see your way out, if you can't see the goodness of God, if you are not cognizant of the knowledge and the love of God, that knowing him, then you don't expect good things. So you're absolutely right. You get to make the choice, but the first choice you get to make is to see. To see. That's very good. Yeah, I love that dream. Yeah, that had a very strong, speaking of current, that had a very strong current on both sides of the fence. That is a really good dream. I love that. Anything else, Jill, you wanted to add?
No, other than the fact that foam did push some of the people into other cells, so that would be a division there, and so they definitely need to be able to see the truth of the matter, because they are just being pushed along, and like so many people. Not so much that they don't understand, they just don't know what to do about it. Like they're helpless, like they have they were leaning on that Marcus Martin, the Mars god. They're leaning, that codependence on the government. So that has got to fall. All of this has got to be broken down. The voices, the protesting, those things that are stubborn and calcified in our system that need to be broken down, and can't rebuild until all of that is coming down. So still a lot of work to do, but I believe that more and more people are beginning to see, which is wonderful. And the Lord is working in that direction. So,
I agree. And, you know, it's, you reminded me of something and then it left me. But, it left me. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe it'll come back later. You were talking about the people seeing and all of that, and a scripture came to mind, but and then it left. So I guess it'll come up if it needs to be there. One of those days. One of those days. Oh boy. Anyway, all right. Shall we look at the banqueting table? See if I can pull that one out. Where did we put it? Okay, here we go. This is sort of, I may have a little trouble seeing where this starts and stops, so you guys just kind of bear with me. But so the dreamer says they were getting banqueting tables ready for dinner at someone's home. Someone brought a noodle dish with sausages cut up in it. And they said it would be good for Melania because she liked that food. So she would like this. So they put that dish near where she would be sitting so that she could get to it. Then Trump and Melania and lots of other diplomats came in. There was a big screen TV in the room, and the dreamer wanted to show them all a special social media post. Trump was very interested in seeing this post. Go ahead, Jilly.
Well, starting at the beginning, like a banquet table is usually for a celebration. It's usually an occasion to get together and to fellowship with like-minded people. So this was in progress. And one of the dishes that they were going to serve was noodles with sausages. And anyway, which seems like a really unlikely thing to serve for an entree for, guests of honor or important individuals. So anyway, noodles by themselves, they don't stand up. They lay pretty flat and they have no substance. So they're usually just a filler. So that seems very odd to serve. But if you add in the sausage is, it has the ability to be used in a whole lot of different ways. It makes different dishes and it's mixed with other things so that there's some diversity there. There's spices. There's some substance to it. So anyway, since it was going to be for Melania and Trump, they decided they would place it near Melania because they knew that she would like that. Well, the interesting thing about Melania, and her name means dark-skinned or dark, so she's a bit of a mystery. Well, one of her abilities is she speaks 6 different languages. So she's very diverse in the languages. And so this could be an example of her ability to take something kind of mundane, like the noodles without anything would be pretty tasteless. And it's just a filler. But she could spice it up with her ability to interact with people. So anyway, I also wonder if maybe Trump, or that if she isn't an aspect or a quality of Trump, because he has the ability to bridge across the different people groups from basic to complex, and it's he makes it palatable. He makes it palatable. He has the understanding and the ability to interact with all kinds of people. So I kind of feel like those two are interchangeable, that Melania is a quality of Trump, because they both have the ability to diversify.
Yeah, and they both, you're right, they really fit into, they can slide into any situation and be comfortable just about anywhere. And I think that's why the people that really love them, because they are relatable, as you would say.
Yeah.
So that is very, very good. Yeah, and you had some other thoughts too on what the social media stuff was, because he speaks so much. Trump speaks so much through social media. Yeah, share those pieces too. Darla, if you have anything you want to jump in, feel free.
Well, a big TV screen, it could be like a 411 for an update for what's really happening in the nation. It's a vision to see. So it's used by the prophetic to check the spiritual climate that is changing the nation. So it would be like an update. And maybe the reason for the banquet is a celebration in advance, because we know that the nation is changing. If we can't even see it, we can certainly sense it. So, but most of us are seeing little increments of change right along. So anyway, the social media interaction would seem like this is how the truth is being forecasted or projected. It's a way to project the truth. And I believe that Trump believers are interested in the post because it's showing the progress. You know, everybody wants to be encouraged. So this was a celebration of the progress that's taking place in the nation, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he speaks so much on X, and it's interesting. And I hear all the time, and I know this has got to be, I feel like it's true, but, you know, Trump he's actually listening. I mean, he's listening to what the people are saying, and he and his cabinet are basically, they're running polls. They're running polls on X and wanting the people to vote. Do you agree with this? Do you approve of this? Is this something that we should do? And I've heard many people say that he listens. He listens to the people. And I think that's very interesting because social media is really sort of his jam. I mean, that is his most prevalent most prevalent mode of communication, because he can speak to the whole nation through social media. So I kind of love that about him, that he's always kind of been there. And it's like, yeah, if I want to talk to the people, I'll talk to the people. I don't have to, excuse me, I don't have to do it on television on an address where no one can talk back. I get to have a conversation with the public and the people that have voted me in, and hear their hearts and their thoughts on what type of change they're looking for. And so I think you're right, Jill, in the, it's like the forecast of the future. It's like, this is what we're talking about doing. What do you think about that? And he does that all the time on X and probably on Truth Social. I haven't followed him there as much, but I just think that it's very interesting that we have a president. Of course, times have changed, and social media has changed everything. The internet has changed everything for all of us, but that we have a president that speaks to us and listens to us on social media is quite the interesting concept. And he has used it very much for his to really to benefit, not even for his benefit, even though he benefits from it, but to the benefit of the people who are able to give their opinions and without having to wait for another election on something, or some House bill going to the floor or whatever. They can ask about those things and the people can actually respond. I love that. I love that. Darla, what do you think?
Well, I have to get a kick out of those noodles because, a lot of people think he's kind of a limp noodle. And we know he's not perfect. We've all heard things that we think, oh, what is he thinking? And we know people set him up, for those things as well. But you mix that sausage in, you mix that communication in, you mix that, maybe he fell, maybe he tripped, maybe he stumbled, whatever. But he knows how to get back on track. He knows what to do with what has been that what has happened. And yet it doesn't cripple him to the point where he thinks he's disqualified. He still continues. So I just think, that's just another aspect of this very interesting dream, is that we choose, just like the last dream. Do we stay a limp noodle and pushed around by whatever comes along? Or do we get to the meat and
That's good.
and the details and like what you were saying, we used to have to wait till, all this process happened for anything to happen. And by then 40 new things have come up, but now it's almost like real time. Well, before he ever actually got in office, it was like real time changes going on. So I think that speaks to us as, you stand for something. You have to stand for something. You can't just be that limp noodle. So what choice do we have? One, expectation. And even just participating on these polls, I'm being very convicted, that we all should be there. We all should be with the current that is going to get us somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I remember when I first started seeing them, I was like, oh, nobody's looking at that. was looking at that, right? And then I started looking at the numbers, and then I would hear, somewhere in the news or on an interview, well, the people have been speaking out about this. Like, where are the people speaking out about this? On social media, and they're giving their opinions. And I was like, wait, okay. Yeah, we do need to now to use our voice, and we need to be using our voices because that's so important. It's so important. And it's important to the people, because if we are not connected to government, how can we relate, and how can we change it, bring real correction, and how do we hold our elected individuals accountable, because they've not been held accountable. And so it also gives us the opportunity to hold them accountable, which I think is huge, because the government works for the people, not the other way around. So I love that. And it just makes me chuckle. He just makes me chuckle. Go ahead, Darla.
Well, I like that there was the big television, in the room as well, that there's nothing being hidden anymore. Like you say, it's all out there in the ocean, open, so
there
that whenever, and it used to be with TV that you either watched it or recorded it or missed it. Well, with social media, it doesn't go away. So it has to make progress. There's just no stopping this gate that got opened.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this, the internet is just going to be such a mess. There's so much there. And you can use anything, in the wrong way, and those things happen. But look at, as you said, the way God has used this and how he's continuing to do so. And he's all of these things. There are so many visions and inventions and all kinds of things that we've not yet been introduced to, that were inspired by heaven. And those things are just coming to the forefront because they're actually where you can see them. They're actually there. Oh, you went quiet, Darla. You went on mute. You went away. You were there, and then you went away.
We're moving on. We're just moving on. We're not staying stuck. Picking the right current now, currently. Yeah. And currency too, because that's another thing that's affected by social media. What is of value, and what is just filler and waste. So peculiar time. I feel like we're at such a tipping point, in our nation, and as far as spirituality, as far as education, the medical. There is no area that's being left untouched right now, because there are so many voices out there. So good time to celebrate.
Yeah, it's really, you're right. It's going to be in, all the 7 mountains, but it's going to be every aspect of life. It's going to be every aspect of life. And when you're talking about currency, and the currency of heaven, but the currency of earth as well, things are flipping. They're flipping. And it has to. It has to. Does that feel a little uncomfortable, like sitting on that stool? Yeah, it really does. But if we don't allow that correction. And that's what the Lord brought up earlier. And then I forgot what it was, but I was seeing the picture of Nehemiah, and if you don't tear down the old, tear down, uproot the old, then you can't rebuild the fresh. You can't rebuild what is going to be healthy, what is going to be. I love RFK Jr. because he's so busy on trying to make all the states, give all the states opportunity to be healthy. And I think that's a huge thing, because our health affects our emotions, our psychological states, the way we work, the way we live, the way we operate, and whether we even succeed. Because if you are sick, as Jill and I both know, it's very hard to be productive if you're not in a place where you feel like getting things done and you have the ability and the capacity. Because when you're not feeling great, things don't seem to work so well. It gets a little foggy. And so, yeah, I think that's really a huge thing. But things have got to be torn down and rebuilt. And so I think that's something that we need to be. I know that we hear that and we say, yes, oh, that absolutely, yeah. But when it comes down to it and you're actually experiencing it, what's that going to look like for you? How much faith are you going to have in that place where things are looking much, much different than what you thought? And even the things that the Lord's spoken into you throughout the years, prophetic words and declarations over you, when you find out they're going to look much different than you have preconceived, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to go into bitterness and hope deferred and anger at the Lord, and you're going to give up? Or are you going to continue to move forward in what God knows is best for you? I just had an experience this last week where the Lord gave me a blessing, but it didn't look anything like what I was expecting or what I desired. And it's not that God doesn't give you what you desire, but He knows best what you need. And those things that you need that He gives, they're a greater blessing than even what you could think of, imagine on your own. They're not less than. They're not going to be less than. They're going to be more than. And we need to be okay with it not looking exactly like what we were hoping for. We've got to let the Lord be the Lord and not put Him in a box, which we are so good at trying to do. We feel like He's got to fit in this small box, and then we wind up living in a box and can't understand why we are, we're not as successful as we would like to be, or even as He's calling us to be. So yeah, but we do have to be very open-minded. And that's something that Christianity sometimes negates, that you must be open-minded to understand more of who God is and what He's doing and what He desires to do in your life. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's my 2 cents.
And it's good.
And I'm sticking with it.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, lots of times change is very hard, and it's an uncomfortable place. I was thinking of the story of Elijah when he prayed to stop the rain, and then later on he prayed to that it would rain. So he also went through that drought and that famine, and it was not a comfortable place for him. So we're having to do the same with our nation. All this change and tearing down and restructuring is kind of painful, and a lot of people don't like that. They want an instant gratification. They want it to be better now, and that's a real hard place to be. So it takes a lot of patience and diligence, to push through.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And holding on to that faith, it's like, do you trust him or not? I mean, when the rubber meets the road, do we trust him to do his thing and what's best? Or do we need it to look a specific way? And if it doesn't, then it must not be God. We have to be very careful with that. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about that. And I was like, we got to be really careful trying to tell God what we think needs to happen. But we're good at it. We're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too that we forget that he knows what's going to bring us the most joy, because after all, he created us. He put those desires in us. And just like faithful old Samuel, walking around, going on his circuit, doing what he was called to do. And it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of joy in that, but yet, there had to be. I mean, he was so faithful and so effective. And in the end, like you said, he knows not only what's best, but what's going to give us the best joy. There's a book, can't think of the title of it right now, and I've never been so convicted by a one-liner as when I read this book, especially for the first time. And it said that a lot of times we don't obey, we choose not to obey because somewhere in our heart, we believe that God is trying to steal some kind of joy from us, when the joy is always in the package. I mean, sometimes with fear and trembling, absolutely, or on that stool where there's no back to lean on and there's no room for anybody else to sit by you and hold your hand. The reality is, if that's how we see God, then we're never going to trust him. We're never going to grow. He definitely isn't coming to take the fun from us.
Absolutely. Yeah, that I was reading something about that in the Mirror Bible this morning, where it was talking about not judging the way God works in our lives when we don't understand the fullness of the joy that God gets and the delight that God gets in blessing us, is what you're talking about, Darla. Mm-hmm. And just the sweetness. And he knows what will fill our hearts more than what we can possibly know. He knows us because he made us. He knows us better than we know ourselves, right? But there's this beauty in the remaining faithful and remaining in faith. On the other side of that, there's this beauty, this reward that's so beautiful, and nothing compares to that. Nothing can compare to that. I look back through my life, and we could all do that and look at things where we should have been more attentive to the Lord, or where we were attentive to the Lord and we got to see the beauty that he trades for those ashes. And he's extravagant. He's extravagant. That's who he is. It's not something he does. It's who he is. Which is so sweet. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything, we're going to call it good. Thank you all. And there's Miss Michael from Oklahoma. Thank you guys for being here. We love you. We love having you here. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and like and share if you want to. It's so interesting, the wisdom that you can get from processing a dream, but also the healing and all of the other aspects of, oh, hey, Kelly, I didn't see you there. Kelly's here too from Arizona. Yeah. Forward in faith. That's exactly where we are. Yes, ma'am. There you go. Well, you guys have a beautiful, beautiful Friday, and we will see you next week. And thank you again for being here. We love every one of you, and we pray for you every day as well. So thank you. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.